We move on to our last speaker before lunch, and that's Warren. Warren, we see you. Hi.
Hi, Lynette. How are you?
It's very chill over there in Rwanda. As you can see, Warren is a Vice President of Business Development at the Association for Electric Mobility and Development in Africa. That's AEMDA. And he was also attending the Gogla conference in Rwanda. He's a sustainability professional, both in the energy and clean transport segments. This is a young man with a lot of experience. We won't say he has 30 years of experience, but he really does have a lot of experience in the e-mobility space. He has worked for an e-mobility provider here in Kenya to bring in their product into the market, and we can see it is thriving. And he's now moved to the Association of E-Mobility in East Africa. He is a certified energy manager, and he's also a CMVP expert. He did these courses. You remember Bill Kent asking who has done CEM yesterday? Warren would have raised his hand if he was in the room. So thank you so much, Warren, for taking the time to join us today. Maybe you can just tell us about what work the association is doing here in Kenya as well as the rest of the East Africa.
Yeah. Well, firstly, congratulations for putting together this very important event. I think there is always a space to dialogue and action.
Sorry, we're struggling to hear you a bit there, Warren.
Okay, well, I just wanted to recognize your efforts as the World Energy Day team for putting together this very important event that culminates, bringing together sustainability professionals, energy professionals, environment experts, in ensuring that we push for the sustainability conversations and even hold people accountable for the transition to clean energy and then clean energy utilization for productive use. So what we are doing in our small way at AEMDA is we are an industry platform that is here to support companies in the electric mobility field. We have been doing our work for the last 2 years in supporting companies that are setting up in both the East African region and now the rest of Africa. Our work revolves around supporting companies to put together policy recommendations that then go to government stakeholders and other stakeholders in the industry towards lowering barriers for electric mobility entry into their respective markets. We also support the creation of networks and connecting these companies with prospective investors and even connecting the players themselves, because we realize now that the market is quite young and early, there's still a lot of isolation. So we'd like to foster one platform that brings everyone together. And we've done this, and we're doing this next week again through the Africa E-Mobility Week, which is really timely and builds onto the conversation that you guys are having at the World Energy Day. I think it's really important that we combine the conversation on energy to how that can also support the transport sector, because as we understand, even in Kenya, transport contributes close to 25% of the emissions. And that's pretty much the case on a global scale. And this pollution is what's responsible for more than 3.2 million deaths annually as a result of poor air quality. So it's really important that we have all this conversation. At the association, we are pushing this through doing market research on the state of e-mobility in different countries and working with industry players towards ensuring we have enabling policy.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Indeed, we are collaborators, and we have been collaborators in this space, World Energy Day, as well as the association. And we'll be happy to attend the e-mobility week exhibition that you'll have. And maybe you can tell us a little about that towards the end. So we want to see what's the connection between renewable energy and sustainable electric mobility. What do you see as the nexus between these two things here?
Yeah, you've rightly put, transport has traditionally been a poor performer because of the dominant internal combustion engine vehicles that exist today. There's an 88% market share of internal combustion engine vehicles across the world. It's even worse in Africa, where only 1% or close to 1% of vehicles are actually electric. Majority of these vehicles are polluting vehicles. Yet on the other side, the renewable energy space is so vibrant. I was just at the Google conference yesterday, and this is a $2 billion market. The off-grid solar market is a $2 billion market with close to 400 million users, and lots of investments have gone into this space over the last 10 years. So there is an important bridge that now needs to be developed, and developed fast, between renewable energy and enabling that for transport. Transportation is a huge consumer of energy. Now it has been fossil fuel, but because Africa has abundant resources of renewable energy, this is where electric mobility will then come in to stimulate demand, both from on-grid setups as well as off-grid installation. An average electric motorcycle would consume anywhere between 2 and 3 units or kilowatt hours of power. And this is way more than, let's say, a couple of bulbs in a solar home system setup. And this shows you the potential that can happen when we start electrifying our fleets, both in the rural areas and in the urban areas, as a means of promoting uptake of locally generated power. You realize that there is a high efficiency gain because we are not waiting for the wells in Abu Dhabi to be drilled, for this oil to be put in tankers and shipped across seas to Africa. This is simply solar installation, a few cables, and a charging port. And suddenly all this energy is efficiently transported into your vehicle or into your motorbike or into your car, and can be quickly utilized at source. So there's a big opportunity. Even other countries, we have excess generation of electricity, and we have potential to generate huge reserves from the geothermal installation. And this is where electric mobility can be an accelerator towards us using locally generated power, creating local jobs, and keeping the money within the country.
Excellent. I hear that electric mobility can be a way that we accelerate the adoption of renewable energy. It can be a way for us to use renewable energy productively. It can be a way that we create jobs within the renewable energy space. Warren, we are struggling a bit to hear you. I don't know, sometimes we hear you, sometimes it disappears. I don't know if it's how you're holding the phone or it's the earphones. But maybe you can adjust that as we move to our next question. We hear a lot about having partnerships between gas stations and EV companies in Africa. Is there room for collaboration, or are these just competitors? Can we just say these are competitors, they'll compete to the end, or can they collaborate to be able to accelerate e-mobility in Africa?
Right. I hope this is now a bit clearer.
Very clear. Thank you.
Okay. Well, just to take you back, I think we now need a new definition of petrol stations, because petrol stations have traditionally been used to sell gas, to sell fossil fuels through the gas pumps. But now we've seen a number of them diversifying. They're redefining themselves as being in the energy business. They're not just selling molecules, but now they're selling the ability to do work. And this is the new definition that we should all embrace. Petrol stations carry a huge advantage because of their real estate locations. These are points of convenience where people can quickly go to get a refill of their tank. They can also sit down and get some refreshment. So for electric mobility to be taken up or accelerated, there has to be collaboration and not really competition between the operators of electric vehicles and these fuel stations. So instead of wasting, a few extra slots for, waiting for trucks or cars to park there and fuel, maybe a charging station could be added. And this is just a way of, one, increasing productivity of the fuel stations. Two is ensuring that there's an easy transition. For someone who's traditionally been used to knowing that my petrol station is 10 minutes away, I will always go there and get my refill. It should be as easy as that. I don't want to think about it's now an extra 5 kilometers to go to a charging station. So I think there's a big opportunity in collaboration. These are companies that behind them are families. They are our brothers and sisters. So we shouldn't really be seeing people in the petrol business as enemies. They are people who need to also make a living. So instead of trying to compete and edge them out, how about we work together on establishing pathways of letting them transition into embracing e-mobility, accommodating it, and even channeling their future investments into e-mobility. Some of the bigger companies are now having a clean energy investment where they're investing in new technologies such as hydrogen, such as electric mobility. And this is the opportunity that we should all be working together. Remember, the actions around climate change are collaboration more than competition, because at the end of the day, if we don't work together to transition, we are all going to suffer.
Yeah. I'm so happy you say that, because I saw one petrol station in Nairobi with an EV charging station. So I was really happy to see that, and to see a solar panel as well that is used to charge the EVs. Our last question, because you're standing between us and debaters. Our last question to you is, it's said that Africa is not ready for EVs because we are at 40% electricity access. Do you think we are having the EV conversation a bit too early? Should we be talking about more electricity access as opposed to, e-mobility in Africa? Or what do you feel is the relation here? How can e-mobility accelerate energy access?
Okay. There are some of us in the room who saw landlines. There are some of us who saw simu ya jamii. But then there's a generation that doesn't know either. And this all happened maybe in the last 10 or 15 years. Africa didn't go through the traditional process of having vast layouts of, telecommunication lines. And we didn't need to wait for 1 million or 2 million simu ya jamii. Remember, the moment the mobile phone made sense, people are smart. Everyone shifted. And within no time, everyone has a smartphone in their pocket. So when it comes to e-mobility, let's look at whether the solution works or doesn't. An electric vehicle will consume much less for the same distance. It will cost much less and will perform better over a longer duration. So the technology works, and this is now the tipping point. We are supposed to see e-mobility as a tool to accelerate electrification rather than waiting for electrification to make sense for e-mobility. Today, in the urban areas, there is enough power distribution, and I think the opportunity is there for us to embrace e-mobility and not wait for an increased electrification rate. I think the opportunity is now. And honestly, the investments that are already coming into the continent towards electrification is primarily driven around renewable energies. So electric mobility is one of those accelerators that should be embraced as a way of promoting electrification.
All right. Thank you, Warren. I actually saw an article that you shared on LinkedIn that was proposing that e-mobility could be a way that we get energy to rural areas where, the boda carries a battery, and the battery is used at night by the home, a charged battery, then they go and swap it and then come back with it. And so we see a lot of opportunities for us to have energy access through e-mobility. So thank you so much, Warren. As I told you, we have a debate going on here. People are raring to go. I see proposers looking at me sternly, and the opposers look very ready to go. So we'll thank you, Warren. We'll let you go. I know you have a flight to catch. Thank you so much for being with us here. And maybe one last minute to just mention the EMobility Week and the activity that you have so that you invite delegates here.
Next week, we have the celebrations of the Africa EMobility Week. We will do this in 2 ways, through online discussions that will be covering different topics on the EMobility field. But on 29th, which is on a Saturday, next week on Saturday, please join us at the waterfront in Karen. Come see an electric motorcycle, an electric vehicle, an electric motorbike, test it, feel it, talk to the suppliers, and we'll discuss how you can own one, how you can maintain, how you can even charge one at home. So in case you want to know more, just type in on any social media channel, Africa EMobility Week, and you'll get more details. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Warren. I know Carol asked us yesterday, who came here in an e-mobility or an e-vehicle, and nobody raised their hands. So tomorrow, on Saturday, you have an opportunity to get one to be able to travel around with. Thank you so much, Warren. Let's give him a hearty hand clap. Asante sana, Warren, and see you back here in Kenya.